Start White's clock, please. Good luck. Shake hands.
This was round 3 of the Rising Star Rapid Tournament here in Mesa, Arizona. 45 plus 10 on the clock. This opponent of mine is a young man who is my biggest rival. I take him to and from the tournaments. He's a good friend. We go to church together. And yeah, I wanted to hit him with e4 and crush him. I know that he struggles with gambits and aggressive chess. And so today I wanted to hit him with the von Hennig. And I knew that he was not excited about this. He took the pawn and I simply decided to develop my bishop out to c4. This is one of the most aggressive and difficult gambits to refute, and it's one that I'm extremely comfortable with. I am planning on adding more gambits to my repertoire, and maybe some of you will say you shouldn't play gambits in over-the-board chess. However, I really do think there is something to them. Playing with the initiative is something I gotta improve at, get better at, and not just playing positional slow chess. Now, positional slow chess is best, but nobody plays like a computer engine, and it's going to be very difficult for a lot of opponents to deal with this. I think, you know, I could get a lot higher over the board if I'm perfecting these kinds of gambits, these kinds of aggressive ideas. And already in a few moves, I'm going to have a very, very comfortable, aggressive, attacking kind of game. And so say what you will, I like this opening. This is the von Hennig. And here, I've given him an extra pawn, essentially. So we traded his D pawn for my E and F pawn. However, I have much more development, as you can see. So I have 2 knights out and a bishop out. Here, he's trying to decide how is he going to develop. And last time I played him, I beat him with this gambit. He brought his bishop out to G4, and he knew that that was a mistake. So I wasn't expecting that move. Here he plays the correct response, bringing his bishop out to f5, and I go for the short castle. So he is responding correctly. Now, the trick here to this opening is he needs to make sure when I play knight to g5, he has to pull his bishop back to g6 to defend that f7 pawn. It's not so obvious why, but I already have a bishop looking at that pawn. I have a knight looking at that pawn. But the key to this opening is I have a rook on f1. And so I move my knight into g5. This is all prep. And I'm ready to sacrifice. So essentially, if you want to understand this, knight takes on f7. If he takes back with king, which is the only piece that can take, it's forking his queen and rook. So he's going to take back with king. Then I just win the bishop on f5 for free because his king has walked into a pin. That bishop on c4 is looking down that diagonal at that f7 square. And so really here, his move has to be bishop back to g6. And this is what he's looking for. He also could play the move g6 as well as bishop back to g6 and just defend that bishop twice. However, queen c7 is not a good response here. Queen c7 just means that he's protecting the f7 pawn. However, I'm still looking at it twice with my bishop and my knight. So if I just sacrifice my rook here, I just take his bishop off. He recaptures with pawn. And then I jump in with the knight on f7 or even with the bishop on f7, checking the king. It looked like I'm getting a pawn and a bishop for a big attack. And I'm only giving him a rook. So yes, materially it's not wise, but this looked really exciting. It was at this moment that Ehsan Gaim Magami, 13-time Iranian chess champion and the only person I've ever met who's played Magnus Carlsen, walked past my board and was looking, and so I knew I gotta sacrifice my rook in front of this guy. I was excited. I knew it was the best move. Boom, this is what we went for. My opponent went into a deep think, but eventually took the rook, which was his best response. Up in material, he's got the rook and 2 pawns, 7 points of material. And what do I have for it? Just a bishop and a pawn, but I have a big attack. So now I'm considering, do we take with the knight or do we take with the bishop? And I took with the knight. The best move, in fact, was queen e2 check, which didn't occur to me. You know, I didn't really consider that move. But the move that I went for, knight captures f7, was still very decent. I'm hitting his rook, and his queen's not going to want to take because I get his queen for 2 minors. So that looks very good. Oh, I get his queen and a pawn for 2 minors. Now, his best move here was actually b5, just hitting my bishop. My bishop goes back to b3, and then b4, hitting my knight. You know, more just of an annoyance than anything else. His next best move was knight a6. Not a easy move to find, but both of these moves, they're not really dealing with the main issue here. And then maybe bishop d6, trying to just sort of stabilize, get an attack going, maybe looking at the h2 pawn there. Bishop d6, I just take the rook, and then he could maybe take the pawn with check. I go king h1, and then what does he have? Knight bd7 maybe, and try to long castle. Maybe I have queen e2. But here he just opted to save his rook and try to stay up in material, which was not a bad move according to the engine, and definitely the most human move. Here I really wanted to keep the attack going, and the engine really likes going all the way over to f1, just looking at that pawn on f5. It's not defended, it's not easy for our opponent to defend, and just, you know, try to get more material, which doesn't make sense when you're going for an attack. And so instead, I tried to keep the attack going. I looked at the move queen e2 check, but I just didn't like the look of bishop e7. It seemed that, you know, he's able to block and maybe slowly try to rearrange his pieces. Now, the engine does say, you know, I'll still be up about 4 points, which is completely dominating. But when you're not up material, you don't want to just be up based on just the position alone. Yeah, and I wanted to keep the attack going. I pulled my knight back to g5. I thought this move seemed decent. It doesn't lose any major advantage. I'm still winning the game. But yeah, moving the queen to f1 was the key move to look for. Now, my opponent was really worried here because my bishop is looking at his rook on g8. And so if he really wants to be materialistic and hold on to that rook, he's got to go back to h8. He probably was looking for other moves too, like developing his bishop. I think bishop d6 is the move that really jumps out, and, you know, is the one that most people would probably look for. But I think he just was wanting to keep that material. So he plays rook back to h8. And so now we're literally in the same exact position. You know, we had this move just like a little bit ago with the pawn still on f7. And if I move the bishop now to f7, you know, it would have been the same exact kind of position, except for the fact that maybe now he can't castle kingside. So here I need to find again queen e2 or queen f1, looking at the pawn. And then the third best move is the move that I played, bishop f7 check. I thought going in with a bishop looks better. We're going to misplace his king. His king's going to move somewhere, and that means it's stuck in the middle, and I can then get my other pieces into the game and go after him. Here, the best move is queen takes f7, just giving up all the material to try to survive a little bit longer, but it is looking pretty hopeless. The move that I was expecting him to play was king d7. This was actually the second best move, and king d7, I was gonna move in with the bishop on e6, checking the king, and then if the king goes back to d8, I thought about knight f7 check, winning the rook in the corner, but I wanted more, you know, I wanted checkmate. So I was very surprised when he played king e7. So I was able to get my queen into the action with tempo. And so here he played knight e4, just blocking the check. Not a great move because I'm able to simply capture that with my knight on c3. After I capture and he would take with pawn, then I could take with queen. And it looks like he's getting checkmated here somewhere. So I just simply captured. He realized his mistake and recaptured with the pawn. I took with the queen. And here he's got a few options, but all of them are leading to checkmate. His best is queen e5, queen takes e5, king d8, bishop f4, bishop d6, queen takes d6, Knight d7, rook e1, rook f8, queen c7, checkmate. But it was in this position that my opponent laughed, realized that I had triumphed, and offered me his resignation. It always feels so good putting these kids in their place. You have to try to take me down next time, big man. Good game. The engine said I played with a 90% accuracy with the one brilliant move. My opponent with a 68.4. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do subscribe if you haven't. Cheers.